Hello, welcome to Connect and Power. My name is Samaria Rooks, Chief People and Inclusion Officer here at Women Who Code. We are so excited to have you join our Advocacy Town Hall today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. First, I would like to bring up our panelists. Our first panelist is Kimberly Marsh. Kimberly Marsh is the head of corporate recruitment at one of the top cryptocurrency agencies in the US, Binance US, with over 10 years of talent cultivation experience. Kim has helped companies grow from blossoming startups to IPO ready machines. Kim has built teams of over 800 employees and enjoys the nuances of innovation and progressive environment. She's currently working to build a diverse workforce with her team of talented recruitment professionals. She comes to us today from Atlanta, Georgia, right here with me, and is a hardworking mother and wife. Welcome, Kimberly.
Thanks for having me.
So excited. Next up, we have Katrina Jones, who is the VP in operations at Sheryl, Sandberg, and Dave Goldberg Family Foundation. Katrina currently serves as the VP of People and Culture, as mentioned before, and she is also a founder and CEO of a diversity and talent consultant firm, advancing equity and inclusion. Over the course of her career, Katrina has led HR across the employee lifecycle and helped organizations connect their programmatic efforts to comprehensive DEI strategies that accelerate progress in building more diverse teams and cultures with greater psychological safety. She has more than 15 years of experience in leading and managing functions of DEI, HR, and talent companies like AWS, Latham, and Watkins, and Year Up. Welcome, Katrina.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
So excited for you to be here with us as well. And last but certainly not least, we have Latesha Byrd, who is the CEO of Perfeqta. Latesha Byrd is the CEO of Perfeqta and serves as an advisor to executives looking to create and nurture a remarkable culture within their organizations and invest in their talent. Latesha is a certified career coach, talent developer, and lifelong advocate for creating safe spaces and building equitable communities and cultures. For almost a decade, she's worked in the talent acquisition and DEI fields, impacting thousands of career journeys along the way. She's also an adjunct faculty at the North Carolina A&T University with the College of Business and Economics. Welcome so much, Latesha.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Okay, hello, ladies. And we also had one more panelist, but unfortunately, she's not able to join us today. So we send her good vibes and super excited to have these three with me today. We just want to start off. Let's jump right in, ladies. Tell me about yourselves. I know I read your backgrounds a little bit, but tell me a little more about your background, dive in a little deep. So I'll jump to Katrina first.
Of course, I'm always muted, always on mute. I came into HR, and that's been the defining journey in my career. Pursuing this path in human resources, and I came into it because what I saw was a tremendous opportunity to impact people's lives day in and day out. Because we spend so much time at work. We spend more time at work than we do anywhere else, including with our families and doing other things. And I saw that, HR has a tremendous opportunity to transform environments and to meet people with what they need in their careers and to support them to thrive in their careers. And for me, being a purpose-driven, mission-driven person, this was perfect for me. And it was a way that I thought that I could contribute my, unique skills and talents into building better workplaces. And so my journey has taken me from, starting out in recruiting to being a senior HRBP and leading DEI work, to now head of people at a foundation. And so it's been a beautiful journey, one that I've also, deeply enjoyed and get a lot from personally. So I'm, proud to be in this work, and also to just share what I've learned with others, and be part of that community in doing so.
Love that so much. Latesha, would you like to jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. I am the CEO of Perfeqta. Perfeqta is short for Performance, Equity, and Talent. And our mission is to help build high-performing teams and put equity back into talent. So we get to work with a lot of phenomenal organizations to help them build emotionally safe workplaces for all people, specifically women and people of color. My background is in talent acquisition, career coaching. I also launched a career coaching community called Career Chasers Members Club 3 years ago. That was specifically a career community for women of color to provide, that safe space, that community, and resources to help them advance in their career. And so we really believe that at Perfeqta, that an organization is not fully inclusive and safe until the most marginalized person feels that they have a sense of belonging. And so I'm really passionate about this work. Working in talent acquisition, I was able to help a lot of people land jobs at the firm that I was with. And I saw that there was a lack of confidence and clarity. And also there were so many opportunities for the organization I served to really make sure we were doing more to recruit for diversity and build those diversity partnerships. And so really through that work, I decided to branch out on my own. So I've been full-time CEO for 5 years. We have trained over at least 3,000 folks in the last year or so. We also do a lot of consulting to help organizations really build and advance their DEI initiatives. So really passionate about this work and excited to be here.
Oh my God, it would not let me get off mute. I appreciate that, Latesha. And just a little tidbit, Latesha's team has worked directly with Women Who Code for numerous projects and things. So thank you so much for being here with us. Kimberly.
Ooh, of course I had a throat tickle right when I took my phone off mute. Hi, everybody. I have been in the recruitment game for over 10 years, started in the agency space. And from my perspective, I just didn't see the support getting myself into certain industries. So instead of complaining about it, I put myself in the seat to be the help and the change I wanted to see. And as I climbed through different startups and mid-sized businesses, I made sure that the impact and the legacy I left was that of DEI initiatives, helping others who weren't seen or heard be heard and seen, and ultimately create a really good foundation of best practices across recruitment so we can see these types of impacts actually take shape through data and just through the experience from the candidate overall. So I take big pride in that. Working with Binance US right now in the crypto and blockchain space, very innovative world. Learning a lot about how we can continue to open the door for those who aren't so able to join in these majority environments. And it's fun. I'm going to keep doing it, continue to breathe the change I want to see, and hopefully give some tips along the way to help folks get to where they want to be as well.
Love that so much. Thank you so much for being here with us today. So we have recently seen a downward trend in support for DEI initiatives. How do you think this impacts women, people of color, and other minority communities? I'll throw that to you first, Latesha.
Yes, so we have seen a downward trend of DEI, whereas in 2020, we saw a huge spike in appetite and advancement in it. And the thing about DEI is that companies should not just do it when they have tons of money coming in, or they should do it when there's a huge kind of issue or a push happening in our society for it. This should be, an ongoing thing that companies do. When companies are more diverse and equitable and inclusive, they're more profitable, they're more creative, they're more innovative. Studies show that when companies do focus more on DE&I, their innovation revenue increases by 45%. And so it's not even just about there being a business imperative, it's really a culture imperative. And unfortunately, when companies underinvest in DE&I, it does impact our communities the most, right? We already are having to show up dealing with microaggressions, not receiving the same access to social and political capital, not getting the same access to promotions and development. And so DEI really holds organizations accountable to making sure that everybody at the company has the same accesses to growth, to resources. And we have seen where companies that have deprioritized DEI over the last several months have already started to lose some really solid talent because, women and people of color are looking and saying, if you're not really going to invest in building an inclusive culture, then this is not a space that I should continue to work in and contribute to. And so these companies are going to lose out on great talent. And I really hope that they recognize the impact before it's too late.
That's key. And, saying that losing talent is the biggest piece of it because our people are our greatest asset, right? So you can't run these big companies without that. Katrina, I saw you come off mute. Would you like to add to that?
Yes. What Latesha shared is really important. The impact on your team and losing that amazing talent, and what you become known for during that period. Because I think what will happen is that we are at some point going to be looking back and looking at those companies who shed, heads of DEI and reduced DEI teams or got rid of them altogether. And that is going to say everything about your culture, about your commitment to this work, that you at a time when you had the first opportunity, your choice was to disinvest in the work. The other part that I think will also really come into view is now that companies aren't focusing and are reducing their investment, the work is going to shift onto those people who actually are most likely to benefit and need this the most in terms of improving the culture, the work environment, making the company more equitable, more fair. Like that work is all going to shift to people of color, to white women, to people from historically and presently marginalized communities. And so that, what we find in that is that while you take on the work, you're also not recognized or necessarily rewarded for it. So, in this moment, this is something that companies, that leaders need to be cognizant of, to say, yes, we need to make sure that we're not disinvesting, reducing the investment in this critical body of work, and that it flows throughout the organization, and that we're also not instead repurposing and adding it to the work, the responsibilities of those people who are likely most impacted by bias, by discrimination, microaggressions. That shouldn't be now their responsibility to go and fix the environments as well, and not be recognized and compensated for that.
Great point. Kim, would you like to join in?
Absolutely. Well, I'm seeing a lot of lack of support around these times, especially through layoffs. And it boggles my mind because ultimately you're making layoffs to kind of look at that bottom line financially from a company's perspective. But when you lose DEI initiatives, you're creating a toxic work environment where you're not supporting the mental health of your most important employees. Those that really give you 110% every day, which leads typically to voluntary turnover, which will impact the bottom line just as well. So I really hope leaders take an open eye to what's going on in their businesses around them. At this point, if we're laying off the talent you've kept, you're looking to retain it, and investing in DEI is the best way to do that for these types of groups and increasing a better work environment for them. So I'm hoping in the future that even as budgets, we're not sure where we're going to go with this work trend, but even with budgets, whether we have all the money in the world or not, we still have time and desire, and those can still fuel a lot of great responses in the DEI space, just having the attention and time to it, gathering the people together and creating organic conversations around what they need. So I just hope that although the trend's going down now, that leaders become a bit more open-minded to what they can do within their restraints to ultimately protect the business and the mentality of their employees.
Great. So putting this back out there to the group, tell me, what does it look like to see DEI truly embedded into the culture? What does that look like on a day-to-day basis from your perspectives?
That is part. Sorry. It's part of the budget, and it is not discretionary. A discretionary part of the budget that goes away when you need to tighten costs or increase efficiencies across the business. That this is built into how the organization functions, and it's not just a training initiative. It's not a recruiting. This is about how you do business. And this is embedded in, everything from product development to marketing. Yes, of course, to the, to hiring, to retaining people, to advancing people through the organization. But it really is fully part of the DNA of how a company operates and how they do business and how they think about their customers, all of that. That's what it looks like to be embedded, and that it is also embedded within administrative and operational functions, right? So including and especially HR, including and especially, finance. It's when I say that it's in the DNA, that's what it looks like. It's fully represented, shows up everywhere, and it's part of how the company just functions as a normal way of doing it.
I'll let the other two jump in, but I do want to piggyback off of something you said. You said in the budget. So who typically holds the budget? So that's like your leaders. And when you are looking at your leadership and going to a company, it's like, look at your leadership. What do they embody? What do they represent? That will let you know where those budgeted funds are going to as well. So that's just a little tidbit that I want to throw in there. Kim, you want to jump in?
I do want to jump in because Katrina, you hit everything on the head. When it's embedded through the DNA, you see it through the values, you see it through the customers that they're targeting, the experience they're bringing there. So it really does create that safe space. And when it comes to tech is supposed to be innovative. How can you be innovative if there's not a diverse mentality happening in your company? So they really do. It needs to be a part of that budget and embedded through their values. So I encourage everyone, as they're looking through new opportunities and creating that next path for themselves, really do the legwork to understand who is this company, what do they stand for? And there's so many different platforms now that give us that insight. Blind, Fishbowl, all those other products. Even Women Who Code, having a community that helps you kind of bounce ideas off of women who are in your space or minorities in your space, because we really have to do a good job of holding our leaders accountable and showing them what it means when we're not pleased in our environments. Taking the chance to say, well, you know what, if the respect isn't here, maybe I'll look towards public sector, whatever it might be, because there are other areas besides the tech space that can give you what you're looking for. And we should really hold these leaders and these companies accountable to providing that for us so we can show up as our best selves as well, which works for our brand and our growth as well.
Latesha, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, just to kind of add on to what the panelists have said, it's so true that DEI does need to be embedded into the DNA of an organization to the point where everyone is aware and familiar, and not just like knowing, but also contributing and getting involved and participating in DE&I efforts. There should be a consistent feedback loop between leadership and employees on what is working well here, what's not working well. Leaders have to be open and communicative about their vision and goals, of how they want to advance DEI in their organization. And DEI should have dedicated resources. So there should be someone that's leading it. There should be a team. There should be resources behind it. Having ERGs are great, but that is still a lot of work and a lot of times unpaid labor on those that are being asked to lead it. At Perfeqta, we created a DEI framework to help our clients really measure the maturity of their DEI. And just a couple of things to kind of point out that is in our framework is communications is important. Thinking about accountability and reporting. So making sure that they are being very leadership is being very crystal clear on what they're committed to, how they're measuring that progress. And employees should be able to ask questions, and employees should be able to know what the organization is doing. It shouldn't operate in a silo to the point where someone on this side is running DEI, but no one truly knows. Of course, ongoing training is great to build cultural competencies, to try to de-bias, management processes and frameworks. But of course, just making sure that there is a great employee experience. And that starts even before someone is actually hired. It starts when they're going through the recruiting process. It starts when they're on this website looking at, the company's DEI page and trying to find initiatives. It literally starts all the way at the beginning, and it carries forward until that person leaves an organization. So
that's so important. I do want to call someone out in the chat that said anyone can pay for lip service to DEI in an ad, which is so true. So I want us to speak to, how do we do what we say that we're doing? How can you really check into a company on what they're saying, doing what they're saying that they will do? Oh my God.
I think one of the ways you can do that is, of course, by connecting with some of review sites and really doing your research. So doing the research and going into review sites, looking at what people are saying about the company, what they're saying about the organization, looking, yes, at leadership and at representation across the organization, including and especially in the function that you're going to be a part of. As well as, at the leadership level. And, then another option is always just to reach out to people, directly, and to, find folks on LinkedIn that you've got shared identity with, and, ask them for 15 or 20 minutes just to talk about their experience as employees. I think you will, when you're doing that research, you'll be surprised, of course, by how people are willing to give up their time to talk with you, to talk about their experience, and are open and transparent. They can also, be part of your network, even if that opportunity doesn't work, right? You all are connected, and they could advise and provide some support to you as you continue to navigate your career. So it's a great way to also, yes, to find out more, to do your due diligence and research, but also to continue building your network.
That leads me to a great question. What are 3 things that a candidate should look into when going into their job search and looking at a new company? Kim, since this is your current role, would you like to jump in on that one?
Absolutely. So when it comes to looking through 3 things to consider, we're talking about mindset, the skills that they're in, and how they're interviewing. So when it comes to mindset, you want to keep a positive mindset and focus on the opportunities that lie ahead of you. It won't be an easy road to do that, depending on how long that path might be taking. I know that's been a struggle for a lot of folks I've spoke to during these recent layoffs, keeping that positive mentality while constantly going through the ring of applications and interview. But find your peace. For skills, I think candidates should consider upskilling and reskilling to stay current. The latest technologies that are evolving in this space, all the trends that are happening, stay current, subscribing to newsletters, different community groups as well. And then making sure you identify your transferable skills on your CV and your cover letter. I think too often I see just the standard resume for every job. And it's like, you'll get it. You know what I do. But show me, break it down for me. If I have 200 plus applications, show me why this particular job is a perfect fit for you. Alignment is key. How do you and your accomplishments align to the company's current goals and future needs? So I really hope everyone takes the time to actually do so. Doing the research. Whenever a company asks you, what do you know about me? You should be able to sell them back on their own company's mission. And if you aren't aware of that, then you should be mindful where you're applying, because you shouldn't be giving your time to something you haven't done the proper footwork to make sure you're protecting yourself from potential microaggressions or toxic environments. So just working on your alignment to the role, your alignment to the company, making sure those things exist through your skill sets and your interviewing, and really watching where that takes you.
Yeah, something you said, upskilling and reskilling. I think that is so important. We have plenty of programming here at Women Who Code that will allow you to do that. Also, subscribing to newsletters. Of course, we have our code review that comes out every week. So make sure that you are doing that as well. Quick plug there. Latesha, would you like to jump in?
I feel like Kim covered so many great things. I guess in addition, it's confidence as well. And so once you do update your resume, your LinkedIn, you're preparing for the interview, like confidence is really, really, really key. And so, I see a lot of times where we tend to show up to these interviews and we're, really, really thinking, well, I just want to get a job here. If this company could just take a chance on me, like, remember that you have so much to offer, really, really, really not just write down what you're doing, but process it. Make sure you're reminding yourself that they should be working to deserve you, right? It's a two-way street. As much as they're interviewing you, you want to make sure you're interviewing them as well to make sure it's a good fit, right? In addition to, the things that you want to do with the company, make sure that they are giving you opportunities to continue to grow and evolve. Think about the lifestyle that you want as well. And is this company going to provide benefits that will allow me to really live and show up as my best self? And also interview and apply to multiple companies. It is perfectly okay. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket, literally until you sign the offer letter, you send it back, they confirm your first day. And just know that it's a marathon, not a sprint. And, it does take time to find the right opportunity. But once you find the right opportunity, it will make sense why that was the right opportunity for you.
Katrina, anything you would like to add?
Latesha and Kim have already shared a wealth of advice. I would just add one recommendation that someone gave me years ago was to take every interview, unless it's completely like misaligned, because even the ones that, it's not really exactly what you want, those are really great practice sessions, basically, for those interviews for the jobs that you really want. So take those interviews, use it as your time to practice and, perfect your pitch in real time within those interviews.
So transitioning a little bit into, we've seen a shift from the Great Resignation to these mass layoffs, and, giving advice to all of our attendees here and people out there. How would you really take re-entering and pivoting in this current situation of our economy and our market?
I like this question. And I speak to think. So I'm quick to jump in. I know where we've seemingly shifted, and good talent is still hard to find. That's one thing that the data is telling us, that yes, companies are laying off folks, and there are still plenty of opportunities. You may just need to recalibrate, right, for a longer search. So it may take a little bit more time. But if you are great at what you do, companies are still hiring, and they're still looking for folks who are talented and within their technical expertise and discipline to come and join the organization. And so just think about, how do I, continue putting myself out there? How do I sharpen the focus on what I'm looking for now? And also just, build a bit of resilience and nurture that for what may be a slightly longer search right now.
Kim, would you like to jump in?
Absolutely. I would touch back on the upskilling. Tech will continue to innovate and grow in its space. I hope that everyone applies that to their own careers and their professional appetite as well. Continue networking and building relationships in the Atlanta area, between not just in tech, but just in the Web3 space. There's incubators everywhere, gathering locations, et cetera, where you can network, get the most out of these skills, startups, I always love a good startup. For those who have been in the big enterprise space, you can build a plethora of skills working in those environments. Apprenticeships, that doesn't get a lot of love, but they still do exist, and they allow you to kind of take a chance to step in a new space and learn from others. There's just so many ways for us to continue to expand our growth and knowledge, that as we're in this resignation and companies are trying to figure out what's next, we should be doing the same things for ourselves and pouring more value into our skill sets and what we can bring to the table in our next season.
Love that. And another shameless plug, Atlanta Women Who Code is having their first in-person meeting next week. So super exciting. Those of you in the Atlanta area, please come out. Latesha, I want you to jump in.
Sure. So agree with everything that was said, as well as think about trying out different industries as well. Every company needs somebody in tech. Every company has a tech team. And so don't be afraid to really kind of expand out of the tech industry into like those non-tech companies that do need tech professionals. But also know that just because one industry is not hiring doesn't mean that another industry won't be hiring for, you know, that same role. Tech companies or tech roles are still growing. And also this recession is not going to last forever, and what we're seeing. So is, you know, there are a lot of layoffs happening and companies restructuring. They're going to eventually start hiring again. So it is important to keep your brand and your skill set really fresh, because opportunities are going to come still.
Latesha, I love that, you know, switching out of what you think is just a tech space, the big techies. So that is a key thing. Everyone needs tech. Every industry needs technology. So Kim, I heard you mention startups. Can you talk about what to look for in startups in that space if you are looking to transition into something new?
Absolutely. I remember my first startup. It was terrifying, but I learned so much from it. But when it comes to looking at the startup environment, it's very high risk and very high reward. So, you know, as well as high pay in a lot of environments as well. But these opportunities provide a lot of autonomy, creativity, and potential for growth. However, at times, startups can be unstable and require a lot of hard work and dedication. So I say to anyone considering the startup space, you have to have an attitude of adaptability. Startups are constantly pivoting as they're raising funds and trying to find the groundwork of taking that next step of growth. There'll be constant pivots and revisits of how they align as leaders and build their foundation. And as long as you're okay for the ride, I think it's a great place to look into. Again, high rewards and high risk, but weigh those out with deep questions, lots of review and research, and I think it'd be a good choice. There's so many ideas and spaces where you would come in from what you've gathered and sometimes come into a higher position because of what you've picked up. So I want everyone to be open to it. You know, Latesha, you touched on it, looking into other environments. I know the security of the big enterprise company does not exist anymore. So really, we're in a space where every company has a pretty high risk factor. At least take a chance or be open to a chance where you can learn something new and really apply your strengths.
And Katrina, I know you mentioned in your background that you are a CEO and founder of a consulting and a firm that is really involves entrepreneurship. So can you speak a little bit to if anyone in this tech is looking to advance into entrepreneurship, any tips or advice there?
Yes, it's been an amazing part of my journey and something that I wanted to do for a while. And it went from an idea to, I have an opportunity, let me just, you know, branch into this space. And so, you know, a few just recommendations I would share. One, build out your financial plan for that. One of the things that is most challenging for people to navigate going from, you know, working in-house and internally is, you know, going out on your own. And now you've got to, you know, buy your own health insurance and manage your own benefits, and also make sure that you have budget and financing for operational expenses and things like that. So, you know, give some thought and map out what does a financial plan look like so that I can, sustain myself and take care of my household expenses, etc., while I'm building my business and, starting to build that book of business that will carry me forward as an entrepreneur. Another recommendation is to connect with other communities of entrepreneurs. I found it, and continue to find it really helpful to connect with other women of color who are entrepreneurs. And, we share tips, we share ideas, we also share business opportunities. So sometimes, someone's at capacity and they'll, connect you with somebody who's looking for a practitioner or consultant for X, Y, or Z. So connecting to those communities is really critical, as well as tapping resources like the Small Business Administration. So, most cities will have like a local small business administration or agency like you can connect with. Those are really great lifelines, like as you're stepping into that journey. And then lastly, think about, there's no one way to step out into entrepreneurship. You can start, yes, by creating your own business, but you could also start by, working with an established entrepreneur and seeing if you can take on any projects that they might need a consultant for, or, want to bring someone on for a special project. So, there are other ways to kind of try it out and to figure out how does this feel, and to start, building your name, getting your name out there and connecting with potential clients.
Great tips. Latesha, we know you built Perfeqta from the ground up. So any tips you would like to throw in there?
Man, I feel like Katrina covers so much, really. It's, I kind of did all the things that Katrina said. I began to save. I made a plan. I left corporate America a lot sooner than what I was actually planning to, for a couple of reasons. One, my business was starting to grow on the side, and I realized that once my business revenue started to be the same as my annual salary, why not just make that bet on me? But I also was dealing with some burnout and, working with a lot of microaggressors. And I just had to go even for my own, mental health. But in terms of tips for entrepreneurs really wanting to break into, maybe full-time entrepreneurship, is to focus on what's most important, which is building a solid brand, and also focusing on sales, whether that is, networking, finding, new opportunities. I do get paid to speak now. My company does 30 trainings at least a year. But when I first started, I had a mentor that said, and mentors are very important. I had a mentor that said, put a speaker one pager together and just shoot it out to as many organizations as you can. And that's what I did. I reached out to about 25 student organizations at my alma mater. Pretty much all of them responded, and I kind of went on a speaking tour. And so then from there, I developed this brand of being a speaker. And so, it is a little bit different being out on your own, because you have the ability to really control your narrative, to control your brand. You don't have to wait for somebody to give you an opportunity. You can start to create your own. And so for anyone getting started, just start small and know that you will scale over time. Don't wait for permission. Give yourself permission and just go for it.
I want to pull something out that you said about mentors, and this will probably be the last question that I ask as a group. Anyone want to throw in some tips about how to find a mentor or how to be a mentor? So any quick tips on that, and then we'll take some questions from the audience. Any tips?
Finding mentors. A lot of organizations offer those types of partnerships, but they're just as organic as looking to your network. As a bit of a practice I do for a few of my employees, kind of write out the titles you think you want to see yourself in over the next 5 to 10 years. As you review those titles, start looking for the people who hold those titles in the industries that you like, and connect, follow via LinkedIn, And through communications and reaching out, a majority, I can't promise everyone to respond. I know if we tap Katrina, you got time for me? Would she have the time to mentor? So, but making sure you find those professionals, find those people that you want to target, and just start reaching out organically. Now, I'm not saying just a LinkedIn message like, hey, you got time for 15-minute coffee? Let's be intentional with our messaging. What are your goals? What are you hoping to accomplish? What do you admire about that the person's professionalism? And try and coax that professional relationship so you can build on it to hopefully share some time with them. And again, just multiple partnerships and organizations that offer those types of alignment for mentorship as well.
And I can chime in here too. It doesn't have to be a formal thing where you go and ask someone like, hey, like, can you please be my mentor? It is something that can happen and grow organically. And so all of my mentors, I don't even know if we had the conversation of like, will you be, my formal mentor? Here's the mentorship agreement. But it really started off as a, hey, can I just set up a quick 20-minute chat with you? Are you available to meet for coffee? Can I share my goals with you? Can I seek some advice? And then that led into, us having recurring kind of standing touch points, time to catch up, me asking them questions. But the thing that made a lot of my mentorship relationships really effective is that I let them know like why I wanted to learn from them. It wasn't just like a, hey, you have, this cool job. It was, you seem like a person that has done, all of these things, XYZ, lay it out why they inspire you, how you're hoping to grow, what you can learn from them. And then every time you meet with them, follow up, check in. If they give you a resource or tell you to read a book, go order the book and then share notes and things about what you learn from that. And you'll see that when you are fully invested into the relationship, that mentor will also say, you know what, they are really taking my advice. They're doing the work and I want to continue to help them. And so those mentorship relationships pretty much helped me grow as an entrepreneur. I don't have parents that went to business school, had a business. They didn't even work in corporate America. So I can really say that my tribe and community and mentors were the thing that really helped me to evolve and grow.
Yeah. I just want to just double click and pull out. I'm hearing personalize over and over, like you really personalize your ask and your outreach to people so that you're grabbing their attention, because people do get a lot of requests for mentorship and for time. And so standing out is really important. The one thing that's really helped me along the way has been actually volunteering. So volunteering, like in the, to support an event or be part of a committee, usually grants you access to folks whose careers that you might want to emulate, or there's something interesting there. And those volunteer opportunities allowed me to connect with people because I was, so let's say working as part of a group or supporting an event, and got to make connections that way.
Love that. So we're up against time, but we're going to answer a couple questions. I would love to hear more about inclusion and the process with employing people with disabilities, like hearing and speech impediments. I recently was let go because of the accommodation was impacting the velocity of the work. So I'm curious about it. Great question, Sarah. Do any of you want to jump in?
On this one, this is a great question. And one, I'm sorry to hear about your experience in being laid off. That's really unfortunate. My tickle is saying consult with an attorney, which is always a good course of action. And there are some attorneys who will at least have a brief conversation with you before, deciding whether or not they could take on a potential case or would engage further at the very least. And this is one that's a little bit hard to dig into because, it depends on your state, where you live, the size of the organization that you work for. But I would say, definitely at least speak with an attorney, and reach out to other folks who may have had similar experiences to see if there's some advice that they could offer about how you navigate through this.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on the fact that, of course, like Katrina said, consultant attorney, that is illegal. We cannot discriminate based on disabilities, and we do have to provide reasonable accommodation as employers. So that is something that, you know, we pride ourselves on in making sure that we do that consistently here at Women Who Code, and want to make sure that that is consistent in the workforce. So we are working through education of that entire process and scenario. And again, my sentiments exactly with that is an unfortunate situation. So we are sorry to hear that. Is there another question that we can put up? How do you deal with burnout, especially when pushing for diversification in your company or dealing with a situation where you are the only marginalized person? That's a great question. Any of you want to jump in?
That tickle that Katrina spoke of, is back saying, get out. But I mean, quite honestly, because dealing with that type of negativity, it's rough. But when trying to find and deal with your mental health, I hope your company is making some type of connection and partnership with products. I know we work with Modern Health pretty often. They offer great opportunities for working with employees on their needs. Also professional coaching programs that also work with you to support you through those spaces. I would implore you to speak to your people business partner, your people operations team, and be heard on what you're experiencing and what you'd like to see change and what they've seen. I know at my company, I know often people operations is seen as like the company's like security guard, but in modern and more innovative spaces, they're actually there for the people and the people's experience. So I really hope that you continue to create that relationship with that individual to help you find some options to deal with your burnout. Now, personally, on Friday at 3:00, I stop picking meetings. I do. I find my space, I make my space, and I draw my lines very clear within my team. And I really encourage anyone to do that. But of course, let's watch how we do it respectfully and just not causing too much ruckus to say, I'm choosing me for the next hour, but I'll be right back to you at 4:00 to answer any of your questions. Just those firm lines can really protect a lot of our mental peace.
I love that. I am going to let a couple people go just because we are up against time. I know we do have some hard stops. So Latesha, thank you so much for being here. Any last words before you jump off with us?
No, I just wanted to say thank you, Women Who Code, for such a fantastic event. And please connect with me on LinkedIn. We'd love to hear from you all even after today. So thank you.
Awesome. Kim, thank you so much for being here today. Any last words you want to give?
I love seeing what your community is doing here at Women Who Code. I just want to continue to support all of you and wish you all the best of luck. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And Katrina, anything you want to leave us with?
Also want to just thank you for having me, Women Who Code. This has been really amazing. I appreciate just hearing from everyone. And also please connect with me on LinkedIn as well. It's been an honor to be part of this.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you, community, for being here with us. We appreciate you as we continue to have these important talks. We wish you all the best, and thank you again.